From the Gray Man Briefing, this is a summary of recent developments regarding the Second Amendment, cybersecurity, protests, supply chain disruptions, national security, law and order, free speech, censorship, government oversight, and more.
For the fourth quarter of 2025, this is Update 1 to the Gray Man Briefing's summary of recent developments. Across the country, in North Carolina, lawmakers passed House Bill 307, Iryna's law, restricting cashless bail, mandating electronic monitoring, and seeking to reinstate the death penalty. In Texas, a sniper opened fire at a Dallas ICE field office as Illinois and Oregon see riots at their ICE facilities. In Louisiana, a statewide 911 outage left emergency services disrupted. In Oregon, President Trump announced the deployment of U.S. troops and federal agents. In Virginia, Defense Secretary or Secretary of War Hegseth ordered all U.S. generals and admirals to gather at Quantico. In New York, the Secret Service dismantled a clandestine telecom network near the UN Assembly. On a national level, ABC suspended Jimmy Kimmel Live after remarks about the Charlie Kirk assassination, with Sinclair and Nexstar initially refusing to air his show after apparent political pressure by the Trump administration. Google said it will reinstate YouTube accounts banned under COVID and election rules after admitting to prior Biden administration pressure. YouTube agreed to a $24 million settlement with Trump following earlier settlements with Meta and X for blocking Trump from using social media. Former FBI Director James Comey was indicted for false statements and obstruction tied to the Russia hoax. The FBI acknowledged 274 agents were at the January 6th riot, with new reports citing confusion, lack of training, and political bias. The House Oversight Committee released 8,000 documents from the Epstein estate, naming prominent individuals involved. President Trump announced a 100% tariff on branded pharmaceuticals starting October 1st, and Attorney General Bondi ordered the deployment of DOJ and federal agents to defend federal buildings nationwide. Let's begin today with law and order. In Raleigh, North Carolina, on September 23rd, lawmakers passed House Bill 307, that's Iryna's law, after the murder of Iryna Zaruska. The bill restricts cashless bail, requires secured bonds or monitoring for violent offenders, limits judicial discretion, and mandates written findings. It requires psychological evaluations for defendants with mental health histories and adds measures to restart executions, including alternative methods if lethal injection is unavailable. On September 29th, Attorney General Pam Bondi issued a DOJ memo directing federal agencies to protect ICE facilities following a reported 1,000% increase in attacks. The order covered FBI, DEA, ATF, U.S. Marshals, and U.S. attorneys. It created an ICE protection task force and authorized prosecutions not only for direct attacks, but also for aiding or funding them. The memo instructed agents to deploy nationwide when ICE facilities come under attack. And now let's look at the legal update this week. In Texas, Governor Abbott signed Senate Bill 8 into law. The legislation requires individuals in schools, government buildings, prisons, and family violence shelters to use bathrooms matching their biological sex. Violations can result in penalties of up to $125,000. The law adds enforcement measures across state institutions and reflects ongoing state-level legal battles over gender and public facilities. Looking quickly here at civil unrest, pro-Iranian, pro-Palestinian, anti-ICE, anti-Trump, and LGBT protests remain ongoing. A decrease in pro-Iranian events have been noted while anti-ICE protests have increased, and an emergence of far-left groups and standalone activists have also increased their efforts to disrupt right-leaning rallies and gatherings. Join at the Gray Man Briefing for real-time updates on protests, rallies, marches, and disruptions. Let's look at national security now. In New York, the U.S. Secret Service dismantled a covert telecom array within 35 miles of the UN General Assembly. The system included over 300 SIM cards and 100,000 SIM card capable disrupting networks. This enabled denial of service attacks and also facilitates encrypted communication among criminal and terrorist actors. The investigators linked it to possible foreign state-linked operatives, while intent remains unconfirmed. Its proximity to the assembly highlights risks to international gatherings. Debrief analysis noted such disruption could push officials to use less secure channels, raising espionage concerns. And moving on, Secretary of Defense or Secretary of War Pete Hegseth ordered every U.S. general and admiral in command roles to report to Quantico, where he outlined a 10-point plan to focus the military. His approach begins with ending what he calls politically correct leadership and imposing new physical fitness standards. He aims to tackle ideological garbage within the ranks, eliminate the option of filing anonymous complaints, and reinstate stricter discipline and grooming standards. The plan also emphasizes focusing on military strength and ensuring advancement is based on merit. In addition, it seeks to redefine the idea of toxic leadership, purge leadership he labels as woke, and revise policies surrounding personnel record retention. Before the purpose of the meeting was known, officials described it as unprecedented, occurring just before the government shutdown threat and following Trump's call for NATO nations to shoot down Russian aircraft violating Allied airspace. Let's look at the infrastructure briefing. In Louisiana, a statewide 911 outage disrupted emergency communications after a fiber line was severed. Authorities provided temporary emergency numbers and urged residents to reserve calls for true emergencies. And we're seeing these type of disruptions happening monthly in various states, so this is not out of the norm. Let's look now at the supply chain briefing. On September 25th, President Trump announced that starting on October 1st, all branded pharmaceutical imports would face a 100% tariff unless companies have U.S. facilities under construction. The affected market totals $200 billion annually, with $100 billion directly exposed. Industry data suggests households could face $2,400 in added annual cost. The tariff seeks to incentivize domestic production, but could create near-term shortages. The policy marks a major shift in pharmaceutical supply chains and pricing. Looking now at the government oversight briefing, former FBI Director James Comey was indicted in the Eastern District of Virginia on September 25th. Prosecutors allege he lied under oath in 2020 Senate testimony by denying he authorized FBI employees to speak anonymously to the press. The obstruction charge links to his answers potentially impeding oversight into the Steele dossier and its use in obtaining FISA warrants against Trump's campaign. The indictment was filed just before the statute of limitations expired, and it focuses on testimony accuracy, not the broader Russia probe. Moving on, the FBI disclosed that 274 agents were deployed during the January 6th riot, with congressional and DOJ reports clarifying that role. An obtained after-action report revealed the true number of agents embedded or deployed, along with operational issues including leadership confusion, inadequate riot training, poor IT systems, and duplicated investigative efforts. Agents noted inconsistent standards compared to the FBI's lighter response to the George Floyd 2020 riots, leading to accusations of political bias, while OIG findings stated informants were not directed to instigate violence. And finally, in government oversight, on September 26th, the House Oversight Democrats released a third batch of records from Jeffrey Epstein's estate. The 8,544 documents included flight manifest from 1990 to 2019, daily schedules, and financial ledgers. While partially redacted to allegedly protect victims, the records referenced Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Peter Thiel, Steve Bannon, and Prince Andrew. Logs showed Andrew flying on Epstein's jet. Other documents noted payments for massages. One record noted a pending Elon Musk trip to Epstein's Island. The committee stated more documents are expected as its review continues. Looking now at major crime. In Dallas, Texas, a sniper attack targeted a U.S. ICE field office. Joshua John, 29, opened fire from a rooftop, striking 3 detainees in a transport van. The unmarked van was in a sally port, and ongoing evidence and ideas suggest he didn't realize there were detainees in the van and was attempting to shoot ICE agents. Investigators found his rifle, a nuclear fallout map, digital evidence he was searching ICE movements, and political posts critical of Trump. A handwritten note described his intent to instill fear in ICE agents. Authorities are assessing the attack as ideological violence by a lone actor. Looking now at censorship, on September 17th, ABC suspended Jimmy Kimmel Live following remarks about the Charlie Kirk assassination. The FCC issued indirect threats to broadcasters, and affiliates Nexstar and Sinclair pulled the show. Trump criticized ABC for allowing Jimmy Kimmel to return. Kimmel said that free speech was taken for granted, while Sinclair refused to reinstate the show until accountability discussions could occur. While the show was canceled by commercial outlets and not the government, it's obvious that the Trump administration applied pressure to censor Kimmel. So administrations, regardless of party, continue to censor free speech. Moving on, Google confirmed it will reinstate YouTube channels banned for violating the Charlie 19 and election-related misinformation policies, which are now defunct. Alphabet disclosed to the House Judiciary Committee that the Biden administration pressured the company to remove content despite not violating any existing policy. Google will now allow creators to return. Separately, YouTube settled with Trump for $24.5 million over his suspension from the social media or video platform, following similar settlements with Facebook and X. Trump's account was suspended in 2021, was reinstated in 2023. This settlement now ends all three lawsuits that alleged political suppression was happening across all three platforms. And it was. And that is it for this week's summary of recent developments. Remember that these briefings are delivered in real time to Grayman Briefing subscribers, sent via the Telegram, Signal apps, and also via weekly emails. Thanks for listening, and as always, remain aware, be vigilant, stay safe.